Well, two of the country's key state-owned entities, the SABC and South African Airways, now have new boards. SAA's interim board is chaired by former Tourism Minister Derek Hanekom, while the SABC board is led by Khathutshelo Ramukumba. Let's focus on the role of these new boards in addressing the challenges faced by both of these SOEs. We're joined this morning by Matthew Parks, who is Cosatu's Parliamentary Coordinator. Matthew, great to see you. Thanks very much for coming on, despite the load shedding you're so clearly experiencing there this morning. Shall we begin with SAA? Because NUMSA has already come out sort of questioning the timing of the appointment of this new board, this new interim board. What do you make of it, Matthew? Is there anything for you that smacks of dodginess, shall we say?
Yeah. Look, good morning. Thanks for having us. And apologies for the load shedding. I guess it's a sign of our times. Look, as Cosatu, I think we want to wish the new SAA board and the new SABC board all the best. Whatever misgivings anybody may have, that's fine. That's part of democracy. There's no problem with that. But I think for our side is that these SOEs, SAA, for example, has been real difficulties for many, many years. The state had to spend about 50 billion rand over a decade bailing out SAA, and it still had to go into business rescue. It still saw about 8,000 workers plus jobs being lost, many airline routes being cancelled and so forth. That had a huge spillover effect on the tourism industry, domestic travel, on the aviation sector, etc., the airports company. So I think for us, we want to wish them well. We hope they help to stabilize SAA. We have begun to see some green shoots appearing at SAA over the past few months with the reopening of some domestic routes and even some regional routes and also routes across Africa. We hope there's a sign for things to come because SAA was once the greatest airline in the continent. It has the potential. There is the demand for it. But obviously, we need to have a state-owned company which is run properly, which is not a feeding trough for corrupt business people, corrupt politicians or officials or whomever. So we want to hope the board will do well. I think their task is simply to make sure that the current turnaround plan is being implemented to deal with any issues of corruption, of malfeasance, etc., and just to hold management accountable for the turnaround plan of SAA.
So the deal between South African Airways and that a strategic equity partner, Takatso Consortium, according to Derek Hanekom, who is the new SAA chair, that deal is set to be concluded within plus minus the next 4 months. What does that then mean for the national carrier, Matthew?
So I think from our understanding that's part of the next phase. They brought them on board and so forth. I think their partners need to bring some equity stake as well, if we understand it correctly. I think to the value of about 3 billion rand. So we hope that the deal, it would yield the fruits that have been promised. We also would hope that there'll be some transparency, the public can be, informed as things develop, etc., because that's also part of building confidence of the employees at SAA who are naturally fearful, and of customers at large, so they can once again fly on SAA, and of course the public at large. So we hope it will do well. It's been a horror story, but I think the fact that there has been a bit of stabilization, there has been reopening of some routes, does give us a little bit of hope that SAA could get back to where it was. Part of the turnaround plan is that after they'd gone from about 10,000 employees to about, I think, 1,500, give or take, that as they regrow and they begin to hire staff again, that the prioritization would be given to former SAA employees who have really gone through very, very difficult times. Many of them sat for months, especially in the period of COVID-19, without getting paid. We hope they'll be prioritized and that they could once again be employed and be able to take care of their families if they want to join SAA again.
Yeah. Derek Hanekom, a former tourism minister here in South Africa, do you reckon that, given his experience, that he brings a particular sort of perspective to just why we need to get SAA back to where you described it was before?
Yeah. We have confidence in Derek Hanekom. He's a person of, many years of service to South Africa. Leave aside the fact that, he was a political detainee in the 80s, leave aside that fact. But I think from his perspective in governance, he will bring a level of seniority and clout, a level of expertise in good governance. He's been a minister who hasn't had scandals following him. And of course, being a former minister of tourism, he knows intrinsically how critical a functioning local aviation sector, led by SAA, is to, number one, generating domestic tourism, because that's our foundation for tourism. But number two is to bring international tourists as well to our shores. So it'll be fantastic one day again to see SA flying to key tourist nations that feed into South Africa, like the United Kingdom, Germany, the US, or many other countries. So we think he's well placed to do so, and we hope that he will do so. It's not an easy task. I think even the most seasoned of persons might struggle. But I think also it's quite positive that besides Derek Hanekom as the chair, that if you look at the board, there are many other people with a variety of skills and experiences, from accountants to aviation experts to people who have worked at the airports company. So a variety of skills and expertise and knowledge and experience. So we hope that's really going to help provide the necessary governance and oversight to SAA's management as they rebuild SAA.
Yeah. From one ailing SOE, let's take you to another one, the SABC also getting aboard yesterday after more than 6 months operating without a board. In fact, the president was even taken to court for failing to appoint an SABC board for months, Matthew. Again, big sort of, shall we say, shoes to occupy in the SABC, especially given that credibility is an issue, and this is raised by one of the board members as well, as we go into the elections next year.
Yeah. So again, I mean, SABC, has historically played a key role. It was historically, a pillar of the communications and education and public broadcasting sector in the country. We hope the new board again will do well. It was quite a rigorous process through Parliament in terms of shortlisting, interviewing, and recommending candidates to the president. We don't think the president was well advised to have taken so long to appoint them, but nonetheless, we're pleased that he has done so. And again, we hope the new board will do well. We hope it won't repeat the blunders, the mistakes of the previous boards often made of interference at a kind of daily granular level in the operations of SABC. We hope it will hold management to account on the turnaround plan. And, also I think the board itself must help towards rebuilding good governance at SABC. We were quite disappointed previously when the boards became part of the problem at SABC. But hopefully this is a new board. There's many people with, significant experience in the industry. We hope they will do well. And SABC itself, it can again play a significant role. There is a turnaround plan and it needs to be implemented, but I also hope it won't be on the back of what SABC has been doing over the past few years to some of its employees, where it took about a third of its staff, retrenched them, and then decided to call them, freelancers and pay them, pocket wages instead of paying a decent wages, etc. So we hope if SABC is to grow, it once again treat its employees with the dignity and respect they deserve. Because if you have a sound relationship and partnership with employees, that's how you're going to rebuild a company, including SABC.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, the big questions were, with the delays in appointing the board, is the lack of accountability. I'm sure that's going to be a big issue as both of these boards sort of hit the ground running. Matthew Parks, let me thank you this morning. Cosatu's Parliamentary Coordinator, weighing in there on the appointment of boards at two important SOEs in our country.